watching the second News Hour debate on Times Now Super Prime Time.
Mahesh Jethmalani and Mahroof Raza on the Indian side, and Syed, Tariq, Peerzada and Zafar Hilaly from Islamabad and Karachi respectively. Zafar Hilaly, my first question is to you. You know, the joke, the greatest global joke is now the Pakistani legal system and the pace at which it works. I mean, we have finished our entire judicial process and you haven't completed stage 1 of the trial. So sorry and so pathetic is this joke that I have been told that on 20th of November 2013, 4 days back, a Karachi-based port worker who had seen 10 Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists leaving in a boat hours before the terror attacks of 2008 was cross-examined in a Pakistani anti-terrorism court on Wednesday. This cross-examination happens on the 5th anniversary. 5 years since 26/11, you begin the cross-examination.
Yes, well, let me give you an equally outstanding fact that the Indian courts managed to examine 616 witnesses in 332 days and brought to end a trial, whereas another trial of the Samjhota Express is still continuing. Well, and in other words, 2 witnesses a day. Now you see, my friend,
well, you know, by the way, Zafar Hilaly,
so can we.
Zafar Hilaly, 1 second. Zafar Hilaly, in those countries of the world which have the unique distinction of not being failed, collapsed nations like yours, that is not such a global record. If we have a country which has the conviction and the judicial process to have that kind of a process, it is not something to be stunned at. I am completely aware about your country's own record as far as the legal system is concerned. I can challenge you point to point on that. But you answer my question, don't reflect it. Answer my question. 5 years since 26/11, you are cross-examining a person who saw the Lashkar men leave in a boat.
I will first answer your allegation and then I will answer your question. The allegation that you made that we are a failed this and failed that, why don't you visit this country and try and find out how failed we are? You'll find that you'll be deeply disappointed. I mean, I've just come from a wonderful Japanese restaurant.
No, 1 second. Let's not trivialize this, Mr. And I'm sorry, Mr. Zafar Hilaly. That's the problem with that's a problem with a failed state that also has a certain amount of an oligarchic feudal nature attached to it. That you think that development is going to a Japanese restaurant, and I will not on the 5th anniversary of 26/11 allow you to trivialize the argument by putting such facetious arguments such as this. I want Mahesh Jethmalani to give a more serious tone to this debate, because clearly Mr. Zafar Hilaly lacked any clear argument when I asked him why the cross-examination of a witness happens 5 years after 26/11 and is coming up with that rubbish about the Japanese restaurant. But Mahesh Jethmalani, would you like to give your perspective, please? You can laugh all you like, Mr. You can laugh all you like, Mr. Hilaly. But I would much prefer that you respond with fact, you know.
Yes,
not with this mocking attitude. Yes.
Look at the speed with which you proceed when you need to.
Well, I always
616 witnesses in 300 days.
Yes,
remarkable.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Unlike your country, where 18,000, if you want to talk about 18,000, unlike in your country, where 18,005 civilians have been killed, where 5,449 security personnel have been killed since 2003, where terrorists, 26,772 terrorists have been killed.
Unfortunately, a lot of them have been killed by people who are now being funded by you.
Well,
and that's the next thing which is going to come
I will come back
to you. They are being funded by you. The TTP is being funded by you and that Karzai government to come and cause
every time that you come on the Newshour, I am convinced that deep within you are convinced that your country is falling apart, but are putting a brave face to it. But
I can't hear you very well.
Mahesh Jethmalani will respond to you tonight. 1 second, Mr. Jethmalani, your comments on the pace of the trial in Pakistan.
Well, it's snail's pace, Arnab, there's no doubt about that. But you know, that pace kind of reflects the attitude of the other side. I don't think they really want this trial to see the end of the day. I don't even think that when it finally ends, I think there's going to be an acquittal of everybody concerned. I think the Pakistanis are hell-bent on snubbing their nose on the legal front as far as 2611 is concerned. Their politicians long ago, initially when there was some apprehension of retaliation on the part of India, I thought they were making some serious attempts. But ever since, our government has sent them dossier after dossier, but not taken up any further action. No other, they have no backup plan in case the Pakistanis are recalcitrant. I suppose we've been hearing statements from all their politicians about how India should move on from 2611 and so on and so forth. So I have no faith in the legal system because there's no will. I'm not undermining.
But nobody in the world does except the Indian government.
Yeah. Why not have an international inquiry? Why not have an international inquiry? Now listen, I ask you a few questions. Please answer them.
Mr. Jethmalani, yes.
What is this book written by the IGP of Maharashtra state, Mr. Mahroof, who says that Kasab was apprehended by the Nepalese police in 2006 in Nepal and handed over to the Indian police? Read page 197 of the book published by the former
Mr. Jethmalani,
IGP
since you have
Maharashtra.
No, 1 second. Do you have an Enid Blyton next to you? Would you also like to read from the Enid Blyton to make your case? 1 second, Mahesh Jethmalani will respond to you. No, if you want to read, you can quote from the next Roldan book as well.
I mean, if you promote,
if you're not going to be serious as far as the debate is concerned, Mr. Jethmalani will however respond to you. Mr. Jethmalani will respond to you. I have few questions up. Yes.
Mr. Hilaly, since you put that question to me, unlike in the Pakistani courts, we don't rely on pure fiction as evidence in our courts. That book is not worth the paper on which it is written. It is backed up with no evidence whatsoever. And by the way, out of the 616 witnesses, most of them were merely formal witnesses. As far as Kasab was concerned, surely you are not saying that as far as you are concerned, Kasab was not guilty and the Indian courts have wrongly convicted him and sent him to the gallows. Surely that can't be your case, because we have CCTV footage of Mr. Kasab, which is unimpeachable.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Don't clutch. You are adding insult to injury, and if you want to establish good relations with India,
not saying that.
And I think
you're backing off now. Mr. Hilaly is backing off from his argument.
I'm not saying that. I don't know why you are accusing me of saying what I'm not saying. I am saying to you that Kasab gave all the evidence off camera. Now, he gave all the evidence in camera, I beg your pardon, in camera. In other words, he did not give it in court. Now, the trouble with that evidence is that when it's not public evidence, the defendant cannot cross-examine that. The defendants cannot cross-examine evidence given in camera. So our court says that is not admissible evidence. Now, I don't know. I am not a lawyer to that extent, but that's what I'm being told. Now,
which is why perhaps, Mr. Hilaly, you should steer away from legal questions.
Yes.
Mr. Kasab was afforded a defense lawyer by the Indian government.
All right, let me answer the legal questions from Islamabad. I think let me deal with these smart guys, Mr. Hilaly, for a moment.
Now,
go on, Mr. Peerzada. Let's hear your smart alecky reply now.
All right. Do I have the forum? All right. Arnab, you know, if you read the statement published in the Hindustan Times, the statement of the lawyer in Pakistan who was a part of the delegation, that judicial commission that went to India, he came back with this very disturbing statement and observation that the chief interrogating officer, the man who carried out the interrogation into the Kasab incident and the Bombay attacks, that fellow did not personally record any evidence, any statement in his own by himself. Number one. Number two, he never prepared with his own handwriting any document which was his duty. Number three, This is the third observation that lawyer made who came back from India just recently to cross-examine this chief interrogating witness. He said that, look, there were 200
No, I have just one question to all of this which you are saying. I have just one question to you.
Hold on.
No, one second. I have just one question to you to stop you in your tracks, because you made a huge mistake right there. I need to stop you right there. Is it true or not? You answer my question. Is it true or not that in January 2009?
You're not going to steal
No, in January 2009. Listen to me, Mr. Peerzada. Is it true? Is it true or not?
Let's be fair. Don't be unreasonably patriotic.
I am asking you. This is not about being patriotic, Mr. Hilaly. I don't know if Pakistanis are not patriotic. Indians usually are. But I can understand
You're jingoistic.
Well, let me say this to you, Mr. Hilaly. Let me say this to you, Mr. Hilaly. There is no point. Let me say this to you. In which country in the world? In which country in the Well, it's the 5th anniversary of 26/11, returning to the debate, and we saw a lot of hands go up before we went into the debate. One of the hands raised was that of Mahroof Raza. But before that, I'd like to go to Mahesh Jethmalani. Mahesh Jethmalani, as you are aware, and I'm putting this for the consumption of our viewers as well as to Zafar Hilaly, in case he says I'm not a lawyer. You don't need to be a lawyer, Mr. Hilaly, to know that under Section 19(7) of the Anti-Terrorism Act of 1997, the speedy trial of the accused is mandatory. And also, as per your own Anti-Terrorism Act, an anti-terrorism court shall not adjourn any trial for any purpose unless such adjournment is, in its opinion, necessary in the interest of justice. And this cannot be granted for more than 2 working days. Every single law has been violated, broken upon, trampled upon, and mutilated in the case of 26/11. Mahesh Jethmalani, I wanted you to come back into this debate. Yes, Mr. Jethmalani.
You know, it's a very simple matter, Arnab. The starting point which the Pakistanis should be concentrating. I'm now talking about investigation, forget the trial. The starting point of the entire investigation for Pakistan should be Qasab's confession.
Yeah.
Now, Qasab's undoubtedly an accused who perpetrated this crime in collaboration with others. All they have to do is corroborate everything. I mean, here's a man who comes in with 10 from across the sea on a rubber dinghy with Pakistan armed with RDX, with AK-47s, with hand grenades. I mean, where was he trained? He's given his whole story about his meeting with Chacha, Lakhvi, who his handlers were, Sajid Mir, and so on and so forth. I mean, all they have to do is corroborate this. But they're in a state of denial, and you have to understand them. I mean, that's a state paralyzed with their own internal terrorism. No, you can't, because civilizationally, they're obviously different. Civilizationally, and partly it's because of the milieu in which they live. So I don't expect anything from the Pakistanis. Arnab, just let me tell you one thing. Arnab, just one fact. This is the 5th year of 26/11, and we've been debating with our Pakistani guests, and it inevitably lands up into an exercise in denial on their part, and our fervent pleas to please try and do something. So, it's a complete exercise in futility. I think the Indian government, I mean, even just the other day, Sushil Kumar Shinde said, the commission came a second time, the Pakistani commission, and we are.
This government has been buying time from day one.
Living in a fool.
This government, let's not take away the blame for our government. Our government soft pedals with Pakistan. We do candy floss diplomacy with Pakistan. We do biryani diplomacy with Pakistan. We've overextended our hand with them. There is no doubt on that. But people are fed up of it, and it's the 5th anniversary. So that's why we are calling a spade once again. Yes, where was he contradicting himself?
All right,
Mr. Hilaly.
You have said it enough. Let me make a couple of points.
No, Mr. Hilaly said Mr. Jethmalani is contradicting himself. Let him have a say. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Hilaly.
Yes. One thing you yourself pointed out that 80% of 80% of those accused of terrorism in Pakistan are let off by the Pakistani courts. You yourself have said that, and you have not asked why. And the answer is not because
I never said that.
I said that.
The answer, no, listen to me, the answer. The answer is because of the same reason that Qasab's evidence, without being given in public and the possibility of cross-examination,
so you accept. This is amazing. Zafar Hilaly, you are admitting. Watch it. Zafar Hilaly just admitted that the Pakistani state lacks the courage to act against terrorists, and therefore it does not build up on evidence. Even when presented with evidence, it will therefore not act. You just said that.
Don't put words.
You just said that, Mr. Hilaly. Please don't go back on what you just said. That was
below your dignity to put words in my mouth.
You said it. I'm not putting any words in your mouth. Please correct yourself.
What he said,
you are.
What he really meant to say, Arnab, was that witnesses are too scared in Pakistan to come forward and give eyewitness accounts of terrorism because the state does not protect them, because the state is hand in glove with terrorists against its own citizens.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you see, somebody should tell Mr. Jethmalani, somebody should tell him that the best propaganda is one that has an element of truth. Total lies does not make for good propaganda. Now, I will tell you, what he said that the state does not protect, yes, indeed, we are remiss in not being able to protect the witnesses who are indeed scared to give evidence, and because of that, another law has been passed called the Witness Protection Law. Now, that shows that we want to address
in
not because we want to make you happy, not because of that, but because we are getting 80% releases.
Mr. Hilaly, in your failed legal environment, in your terror-infested country, in your terror-infested legal system, you will remember, do you recall, does Mr. Peerzada recall the murder of the governor of Punjab, Salman Taseer, in the year of the Lord, January 2000. Allow me to complete.
Let me address that.
Allow me to complete and expose you completely tonight.
Let me address that one more time.
Let me ask you that question and let me complete. You can have your say.
Let me
say what you do not want to hear, Mr. Peerzada, because it is time you hear and it is time you let me say.
Would you stop putting words in my mouth and instead of that,
I'm not putting any words in your mouth.
A couple of things
in January 2011, let me complete. Salman Taseer was killed. You know why? Because of his opposition to the blasphemy law. The man accused of murdering him was called Mumtaz Qadri. And you know, Mr. Peerzada, he was showered with petals by lawyers when he appeared in the court for the first time. That is the extent. That is the extent to which terrorism is embedded today in the Pakistani psyche.
We have our tactics.
You need any answer? You need any answer? You have any answers to that?
Come on,
oh, yes, that's a fact.
Have some. Take a breath and let me address some of the questions.
Did that happen on January 5th, 2011 or not?
May I answer
Did that happen?
These questions?
Did that happen?
Let me go back a little bit.
Did that happen?
One of the observations.
Did that happen? Did that happen?
It did happen, Arnab.
It did happen. He's trying to avoid the answer, Mahroof. Mr. Peerzada and Mr. Hilaly, especially Mr. Peerzada, knows it did happen.
What are you asking me?
No, but you don't know what I know.
Comment.
Unless you let me say that.
You have no answer. I see you collecting your breath, trying to think of an appropriate
drama that is being organized, that has been organized by you on this show. Let me say what I want to say.
In a country where lawyers toss
law,
in a country,
constitution where your voice is being tolerated. So let me say a couple of things. You know, one of the third thing that the lawyer who went to India along with the judicial
you answer my question, please.
He said, hold on. He said that the CDs that were given to Pakistan,
are you so embarrassed?
They were not original. So that is the third thing that was inadmissible as evidence into law. So I'm continuing to emphasize the point that the India's problem is that they can't build the case.
You are going, first of all, Mr. Peerzada, 1 second, Mahroof, I'm just coming to you. Mr. Peerzada, transparently and openly tonight,
look at you
avoided my question.
And listen to Manmohan Singh, what he said about Muzaffargarh just yesterday.
You avoided my question. You avoided my question. You totally avoided my question, Mr. Peerzada. This is what is happening in your country. Mr. Jethmalani is responding to you, Mr. Jethmalani.
Because of the hatred.
Mr. Jethmalani.
Mr. Peerzada, you should desist from listening to the lawyers, the accused lawyers themselves who are defending them. They are going to give you a whole load of rubbish. If he had any doubts about the authenticity of the
should I listen to your rubbish?
It would have been a simple application.
What are you talking about?
A simple application. Don't give me 1 minute. I'll get back to you on that. Let me just tell you that lawyer. Listen to me. Mr. Peerzada, have the forbearance to listen to the complete. Look at
inadmissible. This is legally inadmissible. The problem is you cannot build a case in a safe and sound manner, which is the legal requirement.
Have the forbearance to listen to the utter absurdity of what you have just said. Please examine the utter absurdity of what you have just said. If that lawyer made that complaint about being given a copy of a CD, all he had to do,
listening to the reason.
There is no
you
reason.
can only reason with people who want to reason. You don't want to reason.
This is a country.
And let me give you the fourth observation.
This is a country where you see, you know, Mr. Peerzada, Mr. Peerzada,
let me reply to your third one first.
Inadmissible evidence.
Mr.
Please
Peerzada,
listen to
you
the
know what?
response to your third one.
I have 2 minutes left. I'm going across to Mahroof. I'm going across to Mahroof. I'm just making one point. Remember what kind of a country we are dealing with. We are dealing with a failed nation.
You are dealing with a fine country. Except look what Manmohan Singh
you
has
are
said.
a fine country.
India has to be transparent.
You are not bankrupt.
He made that remark with reference to the murders that took place in Muzaffargarh.
One second. So, you know, in this country, what happened was that...
What about all the Shia?
8 months after 26/11, 1 minute. 8 months after 26/11, 8 months after 26/11, your president admits officially there is no country in the world. There is no country in the world, Mr. Peerzada. Not one country in the world, and I know that on the 5th anniversary of 26/11, you have not improved. No, there's no country in the civilized world whose president admits that your country creates
you can speak of civilization. Speak of civilization.
Your president admits
murders of your president in Gujarat cannot be called civilized people.
Your president admits that you create terrorist groups to achieve foreign policy goals. That was what Zardari said in July 2009.
You are the illegal occupiers of Kashmir, and you are the murderers of thousands of Kashmiris.
Please.
Do you have any
please,
in terms of civility and civilization?
Arnab, why do you get people like Mr. Peerzada on the show? You know, I mean, he's absolutely deranged and delusionary. What I just want to say is, just forget for a moment all the noises that come from Pakistan. Just do a little introspection within what we have done to improve our own ability to counter terror. We haven't equipped our policemen enough. We haven't created a system to respond effectively to the next terror attacks. And if that is the Pakistan that we are dealing with, we are going to get another set of terror attacks and another few years of denials. So please strengthen the country diplomatically in terms of internal security and have better coordination between the center and the state.
Well, to a large
and India
extent,
can hope to ward off terror attacks.
To a large extent,
with that kind of a mindset, in Pakistan, you're going to have to live with terror for another few decades.
Mahesh.
Mr. Mahroof.
Last word on a legal note.
Not give up.
Last legal word
Mr. Mahroof, don't give up. You should accept the extended hand of friendship of Nawaz Sharif. He has said again and again, we want good relations with India, and I hope that you will extend his hand of friendship and rather than
Hilali, sir,
about this and that.
Mr. Hilali, sir, I have great respect for you.
Have a bigger heart.
Mr. Hilali, sir, I have great respect for you, but let me tell you, you are not the kind of person that we are dealing with on the ground with. What we are dealing with on the ground is a proxy element which has been created by your establishment to bleed us by 1,000 cuts. We have to accept that as a reality. The state of Pakistan, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, with diplomats like yourself, it's a different level of conversation. It's a different level of dealing we have to do with when you have Hafiz Saeed and his minions preparing to attack us. This time, from what I learned from the Maldives.
That policy has ended. That policy has ended. You have heard the Kiani say, you have heard Kiani say that our policy is that the greatest threat we face is the terror within.
Don't start off on that broken record again, Mr.
Still thinking we are.
No. One second. In that, please.
Ask your own representative.
There's only one straight counter to you on that, Mr. Hilali.
If I might interrupt, sir.
Yeah, Mahroof, go on.
If I might interrupt, sir, Kiani never stated that he wants to dissociate Pakistan's military forces completely from the terror groups that are their strategic asset, which is a term that Kiani has used also about them.
Okay, before 1 minute, just one simple point to make. Mr. Hilali makes a big mistake tonight. He says trust Nawaz Sharif. And he completely turns his own argument on his head. Now suddenly he can't hear me as well. Mr. Hilaly should remember that Rahman Malik has himself exposed the links between Nawaz Sharif's party and the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi in the Supreme Court of Pakistan. How do we trust somebody who sponsors terror groups? Mr. Hilaly knows that. He pretends he cannot hear this particular part, but I will tell him about this another time. Last word to Mahesh Jethmalani tonight.
You're absolutely right. The Chief Minister, Nawaz Sharif's brother, is supposed to have funded the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi. That's now well documented, but that's not the point. Ultimately, Mr. Hilaly, we won't go by your leader's words, we'll go by his actions. And on a legal note to Mr. Peerzada, if the defense lawyer you lay so much store by is upset about having a copy of a CD, please let him come to India and make an application to compare that duplicate with the original CD. And if he has any grievance left on that score, please let him then vent it before the court, but don't please use such absurd trivialities as a defense for delay.
On the 5th anniversary of 26/11, realizing that Pakistan has neither changed its line or its policy, perhaps the best thing is for us to tell our government, it is the best thing for us is to tell our government to end immediately. It is time for us to end candy floss diplomacy with Pakistan. I thank you, gentlemen. End candy floss diplomacy with Pakistan. That's the only option now. Thank you for joining me on this debate number 2 on the Newshour tonight.